All right, I know the last several days have been very doom and gloom for Bills fans everywhere. I totally get that. It makes sense. They once again come up short. A lot of people wondering, will they ever be able to ultimately get over the hump, get to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl? That's what the goal is. Feels like every year when you have Josh Allen and he's healthy and you don't win, it feels like a missed opportunity. I get a lot of that this year from fans that we've talked to, obviously, from social media, and even from the team. They realize that this one slipped away. They should have won the game against the Chiefs. Who knows what would have happened if they advanced against the Ravens. But moving forward, even though there are going to be people out there that are saying the window is closing, I don't agree with that. Now, I realize it's about to get tougher, but I also think there are a lot of pieces for the Bills on both sides of the ball that give you reason to think that they will eventually be able to keep on winning and get to a point where they're trying to go. In this video, we're just going to talk about offense. We'll get to defense down the road. Offensively, I don't need to say much about Josh Allen. Josh Allen is an elite player in the NFL. He's, for my money, one of the 3 best players in the league, and he elevates himself in the playoffs. Are there a couple throws he would want back or decisions that he would want back from the game against the Chiefs? Sure. But I think he was still probably the best player on the field, at least for the Bills. Maybe it was him and Mahomes. It was the two of them. But that's an entirely different conversation. He's really good, and in the playoffs, he gets even better. And all this talk about turnovers in the playoffs, that has not been an issue, right? So you hear all year, the Bills aren't going to win because they're going to make a bad turnover. Well, they didn't have any turnovers in the postseason again this year, and they still didn't win. So I think that's overblown. Let's talk about some of the other guys, though. I think I want to start with Khalil Shakir because he has been a legit player for the second half of the season and especially down the stretch. Touchdowns in back-to-back games. He was catching pretty much everything that was thrown his way. He can do a little bit of everything. He's versatile. To me, Khalil Shakir feels like the next version of what they had when they had Cole Beasley. Now, he's a little different of a player, obviously. Cole Beasley was really, really good at what he did. And I'm not saying that Shakir is going to be able to do that perfectly, but I think he's going to be able to do some of the same things. I don't think he's a wide receiver 2, but I think he's a high-end wide receiver 3, and this team needs multiple weapons. So if you know you can trust him, which I think you can, you really like that guy if he is your third option. So for me, Khalil Shakir, a really nice piece moving forward. Quite literally, maybe the biggest development of this year was O'Cyrus Torrence. The guy was awesome. Now, there were times when it was inconsistent, but he's already good, and I think he's got the potential to become elite. And for where you drafted him and how well he played, just getting thrown right into the offensive line, during training camp, we talked about a competition there. We said, is this going to be Ryan Bates? Is this going to be whoever it was? And then O'Cyrus Torrence, he wins it. He never gives it up. He starts every game. The offensive line is completely coming back. And I think for that unit, it was the best unit the Bills have had under this version of the team. Under Sean McDermott with Josh Allen at quarterback, you're bringing the entire band back together. Chances are they will not be healthy like they were this year for an entire season. So that's going to be something you have to overcome, but there's also depth options there that I think you like. Deion Dawkins had a significantly better year than he did last year. Connor McGovern was a really nice addition. Mitch Morris is Mr. Steady Eddie in the middle there. Obviously, we just talked about O'Cyrus Torrence. And then I thought Spencer Brown kind of took his game to the next level. So things to figure out long-term, just because is Spencer Brown going to get a contract extension? Is Mitch Morris going to play? He's only got one more year left on his deal. He'll play this year, but what does he do after that? I don't know. So some long-term offensive line questions, but specifically for next season, I really like the group that they have. James Cook. James Cook had more than 1,500 all-purpose yards this year. It's a massive jump from what he did last season. Is he a perfect player? No, but he does a lot of really good things. He's dynamic in the run game. He's a weapon in the passing game. He needs to be a little bit more consistent in the passing game. There were several big drops this season that could have changed games. I think about the Eagles. I think about the playoff game against the Chiefs that Shakir bails him out on the next play. I feel like there's one other one that I'm definitely missing. There's just some moments where you want him to be a bit more consistent, but I still think he took a really next step and has solidified himself as, okay, this is going to be running back 1 for this team for the foreseeable future. And then after that, you just find a complementary piece. I liked Ty Johnson. I think there's a world where Ty Johnson is back next year as either your 2 or your 3. It sounds like Naheem Hines is another option too for them. I wonder if they try and get Damian Harris back because they never really got to see what he could do with this team. They wanted a short yardage specialty back, and that's what he was supposed to be until he got hurt. So I think the running back position is in a pretty good place moving forward. And then tight end, for sure. Like, Dalton Kincaid was really good. It's funny because on social media, there's some people out there who don't think Dalton Kincaid had a very strong rookie season just because it's compared to Sam Laporta. I don't agree with that. I think Dalton Kincaid was good. Couple drops, a couple plays that you would want back. He had that fumble, and I think the Bengals game when they were down in the red zone and it completely kind of changed the game, that was the one like real hiccup for him. But I thought he got better as the season went on. I think he's a really good mismatch for a Bills offense that is looking for playmakers. So I really like Dalton Kincaid. Dawson Knox is a tricky one just because Dawson Knox, I think, is a nice player, but Dawson Knox is paid to be a really, really, really good player. I don't think they're going to move on from him. I think that he has a role in this offense. I know the money doesn't match up with what you're getting from him from a production standpoint, but I think Josh Allen trusts him. I think they trust him with a lot of different things. I also think they want to have two tight ends that they know they can count on if there are injuries, and obviously you have that now with Kincaid and you have that with Dawson Knox. The Stephon Diggs stuff, we're going to talk about Stephon Diggs again this summer just because we're always going to talk about Stephon Diggs. I don't think it's probably... I think oftentimes it gets blown out of proportion a little bit. I think Stephon Diggs is still a really good player. I still think he can be your wide receiver 1, but I think you need somebody who's a lot closer to being a wide receiver 1B than anything that you've had. That is, for me, the absolute biggest need for this team all summer. It's finding another guy who can play alongside Stephon Diggs. You've got Stephon Diggs. You've got Khalil Shakir. I'm operating under the assumption that Gabe Davis is walking. So if Gabe Davis leaves, you've got Diggs, you've got Shakir, you've got Justin Shorter. Deontay Hardy probably is back for one more season. After that, though, like, go find at least 2 more guys to be your number 2 receiver, and then maybe even your number 3/4 receiver to go along with Shakir. This offense was at its best when they had Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, John Brown, and Gabe Davis. Go find 2 guys, draft one, sign one. When you think you've addressed it, go get another one. And I think I get the sense from the team that they've realized they need somebody who can make explosive plays. They talked about that a lot at their end-of-season press conference, and that wide receiver is an area that they are definitely going to be circling. They don't want to pigeonhole themselves, the team, by saying, like, yeah, we definitely need a wide receiver, but read between the lines. They're going to be getting wide receivers this summer, this offseason, and they really should be. So overall, offensively, was an inconsistent year. I mean, they fired their offensive coordinator halfway through the season. That pretty much spells that it's going to be an inconsistent year. I'd assume Joe Brady comes back. I like what we saw from Joe Brady in the 9 games that he called plays. I think with him for a full season and the weapons that they already have and the other weapons that they'll eventually add, I think this offense could be even more consistent and dynamic next year than they were this year. I think you're bringing a lot of the guys that are really important back, and at the end of the day, it starts and ends with Josh Allen. As long as you got that guy, you got a chance. So I am not as doom and gloom offensively as some people. I think they're going to be just fine. I think they're going to even be better next year. We'll see how the rest of the summer, keep saying summer. For me, in my head, there's only 2 things. There's the season and then there's the summer. Apparently, we've got like 5 months until we even get to that point. We'll see how these next few months shape out. We'll talk about defense down the road. See you guys.